Okay, let's talk El Clasico now. It's the first one of the season this weekend. Saturday, if you're in the United States, 10:15 Eastern on ESPN Plus, but from 9 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus, the ESPNFC build-up and the pre-game show. And if you want to scan the QR code, if you're not already a subscriber to ESPN Plus, you'll be able to do so using that QR code. Now, I'm going to take you back 12 months. I was lucky enough to be in Spain, Janusz, during España week and went to the Clasico, the first one at the Bernabeu that Real Madrid won by 3-1. The golf in class, even during that game and subsequent weeks, you kind of thought, how many are Real Madrid going to win this title by? But look what happened. They didn't. Barcelona did. So how much importance are you putting on this first Clasico of the season on Saturday?
No, it's early. I don't think it's the same as it used to be. I mean, it's always tight races, so I always put put importance on it because we all know that if they're tied, these El Clasicos make a difference, the head-to-head. So of course it is important. It sets the rest of the season. It gives you a good vibe, in particular for both teams this season, because both Barcelona and Real Madrid are in the Champions League as well. Last season, of course, Barcelona were not. So I think it is important because it's the biggest rivalry. I mean, that's what everybody cares about. I want to say more around the world, the casual fans than maybe there, because I think there are many great clubs, and look at what Atleti are doing to maybe surprise of many the way they started the season, how they're playing, and all that. And obviously within Spain, not everybody cares about that, but it is El Clasico. It is important for La Liga, as we know, around the world, because it's probably arguably the most watched derby in the world these days. I haven't checked stats, but it's got to be up there, if not first, maybe second. So it is important from that standpoint. But I think this season is also important because I'll tell you this, even though they're both rebuilding, it's easy to say that Real Madrid are always one of the favorites to win it. But probably you wouldn't say that about Barcelona ahead of the season. And maybe not at this moment, speaking today, what we're going to see today against Shakhtar Donetsk, 6 academy players and all of that. But I think if I look at two teams, I just had to look at Barcelona because I've forgotten who they have because everybody's been injured for the most part. I think when you put the best starting line from Barcelona, they're as good as any. If they were healthy in the latter stages of the Champions League and La Liga, of course, I'll tell you, I think they would be one of my favorites because I think they're much better, much more talented than many give them credit for.
Yeah, the injuries you mentioned that. I mean, they're hoping to have Lewandowski available for selection this weekend and a couple of others as well, which would certainly help them. They've not been brilliant, but they've not had to be. They've found a way to get results, whether it's coming back from 2 goals down, whether it's the game against Sevilla, even the game at the weekend against Athletic Club when Mark Heu came on and scored within 23 seconds. So they're unbeaten. They're the only team in La Liga who is still unbeaten. But them at their best or Real Madrid at their best, who's the better team, Janusz?
I think maybe slightly still it looks like Real Madrid, but as I said, I'll take Barcelona if everybody's healthy. I really would. World-class goalkeeper, something that Real Madrid does have, but not for a long time now. In Thibaut, but Ter Stegen absolutely outstanding. And even if they're both playing, take your pick really. That's how important good Ter Stegen has been. The back four of Barcelona, I think, is very, very good, especially with João Cancelo there. Ball down the left-hand side. My goodness. I mean, still young, but what a player. One of the best out there, hands down. I think if you have Araujo and Koundé, love it. If Christensen comes in for one of them, that's quality and experience in all competitions from him. Inigo Martinez obviously had some injuries, and he's going to be playing right now, but he's not the one to come in. But, that back four with the goalkeeper alone. And then, the funny thing about all these injuries is that a lot of young players get an opportunity and get tons of experience. So that contributes very much so in the terms of depth. And, Lewandowski's Lewandowski. You look at Rafinha, who's going to be back. Gavi's suspended for the Champions League. Pedri's almost there. Frankie de Jong's been outstanding. Gundogan. I don't know now that I'm saying it, I don't know if I give it to Real Madrid, but slightly I think I would.
back in the day when you had the Figos and the Zidanes and the Rivaldos and the Ronaldos, I mean, some of the Clásicos were just ridiculous. They were so good. But a lot of those were from players that were brought to the football club. And when you see youngsters like Vinny Jr. on one side and Rodrigo, and you've got Lamine Yamal and Marc Gui that came on at the weekend and scored that goal against Athletic Club, could we be seeing maybe us getting back to those days of the fantastic fixtures that were must-watch, but instead, well, a lot of them made up by homegrown players at Real Madrid and Barca?
It's going to take time.
Okay.
Not anytime soon. No, because I mean, for the rivalry to be special, I mean, there's so many derbies, and yet, I was just watching Liverpool Everton. I mean, what derby? I mean, it isn't a derby, right? It's a one big club and a big club, but it hasn't been big on the pitch for a long time, right? And you can go on and on and on. And what we had back then, I don't know if it can be replicated ever, to be quite honest. Maybe in time, who knows? But it wasn't just the players, but it was Mourinho and Pep. They didn't like each other at that time. I don't know if they like each other now, but I think in England it looked a little bit different. Messi against Ronaldo, two of the best ever. I mean, but let's go back, the other Ronaldo. I mean, if you go back the Figos, as you've mentioned, Ronaldinho. I mean, Ronaldinho had the work ethic of some of the best. Say Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, come on. I mean, he's more explosive than Messi was in so many ways, right? So I remember some of those matches, but I just think we're not there yet. You need personalities on and off the pitch, and maybe if Kylian Mbappe comes in, and maybe if Erling Haaland, say he goes to Barcelona, I don't know if that's possible, but those two going against each other. You have Bellingham, maybe Musiala comes in, and those two, very very talented players get to that level. But you'd be hard pressed, even if they get to their ceiling, to think that we're going to have players anytime soon. Seeing what I see right now, not just with these two clubs, but possibilities of other players coming in, I still think it's a stretch.
What's your prediction for Saturday?
My prediction is 1-1, and that's not just sitting on the fence. But again, I we'll have to see what Barcelona, if Lewandowski does recover. Looks like he may play. Rafinha is very close. Even Frankie de Jong, I think, although he's the furthest away from, at least from what I read. So those are big losses, and we're talking about Real Madrid, who was able to rest Tchouaméni, Alba, Toni Kroos, and who have a midfield that's still being built, but I mean, they have 6 options right now in the center of the pitch. Even Modric, who played excellently the other day in the Champions League. So I think that tips it still with Vinny Jr., Rodrigo, Bellingham in such form. You have to say that on paper, Real Madrid have to be favored. Well, slight favors, but I think Barcelona would at least get a draw out of it.
I think you've covered every single base, and you can say to me next week, "Told you so," and you're like, "Yeah, well, you mentioned everything."
Okay, because we don't like draws, right?
I want to move on. We don't. I want to move. Hey, look, not one result would surprise you.
No.
If Barca win it, Real Madrid win it, if it's a draw, there will not be a surprising result.
So much about Barca with everything that's going on, with still injuries. By the way, Real Madrid does have them as well. It's not an excuse. But since I've been talking about Barcelona, let me go to Barcelona 1-0. If it was at the Camp Nou, I would have said it for sure. In Montjuic, though, I mean, there's 6 games, 6 wins, though, right? But it still doesn't have to feel the same. But let's go Barcelona 1-0. And yeah, you can say all you want in the chat about it. If you're Real Madrid fans, I love you. You've been great, but I'm going to give it to Barcelona.